Hello there. Now, some people question why the Prime Directive exists. Today, we're going to discuss a prime, unintended, example of exactly why the Prime Directive exists. Yes, many people disregard it. And there are actually many loopholes and nuances to the Prime Directive, and there even can be exceptions made. But why it is the guiding light, the guiding principle of Starfleet and the Federation. Despite those early days when humans were going, why won't the Vulcans share their technology? Where? There are reasons. There's always a reason for stuff like this. And today we're going to discuss one of the worst examples, one of the egregious violations of the Prime Directive ever. And a perfect example of why the Prime Directive exists in the first place. Now, many people may not have heard of the planet Ekos or its native population, the Ekosians. But in the 23rd century, the planet Ekos, the people there who were humanoid, surprisingly human-looking, all of them were quite violent. And there have been a lot of wars on their planet. Now, their system had two inhabitable worlds. The Ekosians, though, were a pre-spaceflight civilization. Probably about late 19th, early 20th century levels of technology from an Earth comparative level. Their neighboring planet, however, was a little more advanced. The Zeons had at least some capability of spaceflight. They could reach their neighboring worlds, say more advanced than Earth was in the 21st century, early 21st century, probably more akin to what Earth might be, say, in the mid-21st century, before warp flight, but they could get around. Now, taking pity on their neighbor, they decided to go there and try to promote peace and help them rebuild their civilization and create some kind of cohesion, as well as knowing that eventually, they got to live with these people. They're in the same solar system. Now, they could take the route of let's just bomb them from orbit. There's nothing they can do about it, which, be very Romulan. Or let's just help them. Now, this is all going great. Now, the Federation is also taking note of this and goes, you know what? We're not gonna get involved. Prime Directive and all. Both these civilizations are pre-war. At most, they could probably talk to the Zeon, but they don't want to. So they send a cultural observer, a man named Gill. Now, Gill is an interesting character. He's a student of history as well as of other civilizations. That's why they send him. A pre-warp civilization, it's exactly his ballpark. But he's got some interesting ideological points of view. The kinds of points of view that if I say those points of view, this video gets demonetized and possibly delisted off YouTube. But let's call them, so we say, Yahtzee ideologies. He has a particular interest in it, and he thinks that, what these people could need? Little Aryan supremacy. So he completely disregards the non-interference policy, and he starts helping them rebuild their civilization using those principles of the Nazi bucket, the Nazi ideologies, which, yes, they were successful in reindustrializing and rebuilding the German economy, but they had some other negative side effects, and he would come crashing into those negative side effects pretty damn fast. Very quickly, after pronouncing himself Führer and modeling their entire society off that regime with the same iconography that I'm not going to put on the screen because nope, or at least I'm going to try to avoid it. But the uniforms, the culture, everything, he tried to steer them in that direction. And he basically said, these Zeons, they started this. They made you fight each other. They're the problem. The Zeons, the naming alone is pretty obvious that there's a tenuous historical connection there and they're obviously a stand-in for the Jews. And they're being blamed for all the problems in Ekosian society. So all the Ekosians get right on with this. They're like, yeah, them. They're the reason I can't get a job. They're the reason we keep fighting. They're the reason that, I don't have any money. It's them. But that's the kind of philosophy that he installs. Now, what it does is it unifies and galvanizes the people. Yes, it does do that. It does bring those people together in hatred. I'm going to hate the things you hate. And if you don't already hate them, I'm going to teach you to hate them. And that's all that ideology accomplishes. Now, initially, it's successful. Their civilization is rebuilt, and they modernize, and they get together. But very quickly, he's overthrown by his deputy Führer, and he takes over And you know, the following things happen that are going to happen in any kind of Nazi civilization. Camps, people being rounded up, people excluded because of things about them that the rest of society deem not great. In the case of Nazis, it was things like homosexuality, the wrong religion, the wrong color, you spoke the wrong language, your accent wasn't the same, they didn't think that you were genetically of the correct heritage. In this case, it's just being a Zeon, or basically anything that is not us. And obviously, eventually the Federation finds out about this, and it's like, why are there Nazis on a planet on the planet Ekos? Why? So the Enterprise is sent in, and Kirk and Spock are like, damn, this doesn't seem right. It's wrong. Although we do get to see Kirk and Spock in a Nazi uniform, so there's that. The whole episode, of course, is there to beat you over the head with a very obvious message that Nazism, fascism, is bad. It is bad. It has some qualities. This man, this John Gill, he genuinely believed that he could unify these people and bring them together in peace. Using a regime of hate and thinking that he could avoid all of the negative downsides that comes with hatred. The impact on the future of this civilization could be epic. Even if it is reversed, even if they can go back to the way that they were, the stain on their history, the legacy of following a man like that, following this ideology, doing the things that he said, persecuting people, hurting people, that blood, to sort of quote Denatra, a Romulan who would say it, and I'm paraphrasing here, but she said it when Shinzon was going to destroy Earth. That blood will be on our hands for generations. You want that blood on our hands for generations. That blood of the Ekosians, all those that were persecuted and harmed during the rise of this regime, a philosophy that he introduced to this planet that will forever be part of their path, and there will always be Ekosians that look back at it and go, he was right. It could cause wars 200-300 years from now. The Ekosians, they've got warp capabilities. So do the Zeons. What then? What then? If that hatred is remembered, if they still remember, some of them are still stupid enough and ignorant enough to believe the propaganda that the Zeons were the ones that had caused those problems, even if it's under the surface, it could cause problems. And that is the stain upon which on their society that he created. And this is why the Prime Directive exists. You cannot impose your views, even if you think it's with good intentions, even if the thoughts were there to make things better, especially though utilizing Nazi ideology in order to better anything is utter insanity. So, John Gill, he was an extremely misguided individual. But that's why you can't do it. Even if you try to make things better, you are changing the course of their social evolution. And just your very presence, just interfering alone, could be enough. It's how the Zeons ended up in the position they were in. If they'd never gone to Ekos, there'd have never been a scapegoat. There'd have never been the opportunity for them to say, well, they're the reason. They did it. And you see the same thing in Star Trek Prodigy, when the Federation is given similar blame, and extremists use that as an excuse to clamp down. They use it as an excuse to militarize. Yes, it galvanizes their people, but what happens? They lash out at the Federation. The Federation was demonized ultimately by the Valnakat, and the Diviner and others of his kind were like, your fault. And that led to conflict. Something outside the scope of this video, but it's another example of history repeating itself, and how you just, even a small infraction, just getting in the way, just being there for their first contact, even for their first warp flight, might even be too much. You've got to take first contact so delicately, because if it goes wrong, first contact with the Klingons didn't go well. The first human to meet a Klingon shot the Klingon. It gave the Klingon, Klingons were already a pretty violent people, but as first impressions go, it wasn't the best. Yes, the Vulcan hello is a thing. The Klingons do respect strength, but Klingons, they had very mixed views of humans, and there were multiple conflicts as a result, all stemming from those early contacts, all of it. No matter what Archer and others did, the Klingons simply just couldn't seem to push past it. And even the Vulcans were like, the first thing you did when you saw a Klingon was shoot it. And so did you, but whatever. But afterwards, you tried to apologize, and that was probably the weakness. Basically, no first contact is ever the same. Races have different histories and different cultures. And imposing human values, especially such deranged, malignant values like those of Nazism, upon an alien civilization in an effort to unify it is utter madness. And the destruction to their society was, quite frankly, inevitable. But what do you guys think? Could he have actually used that ideology to actually galvanize those people? I mean, the thoughts were there, I suppose, but the actions. This is why the Prime Directive exists. What are other examples you can think of where the Prime Directive got violated and it just was like, what the fuck? No, you don't do that. Bad human. Let me know in the comment section down below. If you made it all to the end of this video, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe. And with that said, bye-bye.